Welcome to Tell Us Your Story with Dr. Ebony. I am Dr. Ebony. Today's topic is safety or religious freedom. My guest for today is my friend, Rebecca Johnston.
Hi.
Hey, Rebecca.
How you doing?
Doing good, doing good. It's so good to see you actually with face.
Right.
We haven't seen each other in person since we were a part of the Walt Disney College program in 2003.
Yeah, spring 2003.
Yeah, that is crazy to me. I mean, that's been what, 18 years ago?
Yes.
God.
We would be coming home. We came home about 18 years ago in the next 2 or 3 weeks, sometime in May.
Right. Yeah. God, that is crazy. Anyways, let me tell you something. For you all that's watching this video, Rebecca looks exactly the same. She is just as beautiful.
Thank you. And you as well.
Thank you so much. Even though we haven't seen each other physically in 18 years, we've made a Facebook connection, as I'm sure a lot of you have made connections this year and last year with the pandemic. But, we've always kept up with each other, seeing each other's triumphs and heartbreaks and, just life struggles sometimes. And just, hey, I'm doing good right now. But this is how I know the difference between a Facebook acquaintance and a true friend. June 15th, 2015, Rebecca proved to me, or as we call her, Becca, proved to me that she was a true friend. For those of you who don't know, June 15th, 2015 was the date of the Mother Emanuel mass shooting in Charleston, South Carolina. What she didn't realize at the time that she sent me that message to check on me was that the convicted shooter was from an area not too far from where I'm currently located at this time. And he made a list of local Black churches that could have really had a more direct impact in my life if he would have chosen another church on that list. Then fast forward to October 27th, 2018. I was watching a national newscast and it broke in about a mass shooting at the Tree of Life Synagogue in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and my heart dropped. I immediately had this gut feeling that I was like, "Oh, I need to check on Becca. What's going on?" I didn't know if she was close by. I didn't know any of that. So I immediately messaged her, and I didn't hear from her until the next day. And that's when she shared with me that she didn't live too far from there and that she was family friends with a lot of the victims. So let's kind of go back to that day, Becca, and describe for me how you felt.
Well, I was cleaning actually, and I got a phone call from a friend and, said, "Are you okay?" And, yeah, like, what's going on? And they said the shooting of the synagogue. And I immediately ran to the TV. I mean, just like you, that shooter could have picked any other synagogue and we may have been there. It's just different day, different time. Where are they? Is my family there? Right. And the first thought that went through my head is I have family that live in Squirrel Hill, and it's only like 2.5 miles from me where I lived at that time. Mm-hmm. So I have family that is blocks, away from this synagogue. And because it was on a Saturday, it is our Sabbath. And the more religious people, like Orthodox, will not have a phone anywhere near them. So, who is anybody in there? Are they okay? Who are they? Who did this? Mm-hmm. Why? It's like all of these questions, that just... it's scary. Are they coming to us next? The next week we had my nephew's bar mitzvah, and what if, we had to have a policeman outside, and it's just like, it's heartbreaking to walk into such a joyous celebration and have to have security there. That's not what that place is for. That's the place to feel safe.
Exactly. So during that time, how did the community assist with the aftermath and the recovery process?
Immediately, very shortly after, there were vigils outside. That night, I remember being with my Jewish friends that I went to Hebrew school and Sunday school with, high school, that we were the best of friends and standing there and holding hands and singing songs. And it was just very sad. But the community really stepped it up. We had a lot of GoFundMes. We had the Stronger Than Hate emblem, and that took over the city. Stronger Than Hate really became Pittsburgh's saying for quite some time. I do think that there was a lot of community outreach. It really was complimentary of the city. They really, really did what they needed to do for our community, including the mayor. He really stepped up. He attended everybody's service. And in the Jewish faith, you have to be buried very quickly. So I think the next day or the day after, the loved ones that were lost were buried.
Wow. Wow. So what did that do for the community as a whole, like emotionally? Did everybody, I know you said you had to have a security guard for your nephew's bar mitzvah. What other changes in the community did you all have to go through after that?
I think it challenged us to rise above and to check on each other, be closer to each other, be more of a tight-knit community. We saw a very big, strong presence of the Muslim community that came to stand outside of all of the synagogues here.
Wow. Wow, that was great.
Right?
Like, how did that even come to be? Was it just one of those instantaneous kind of things that just like, hey, this is what we're going to do, and they just started doing it?
Yeah, I think that it was just such a tragedy, so close to home, so unnecessary, as we've all seen happen all over this country. You yourself with Mother Emanuel. It's something that is just absolutely gut-wrenching.
Right.
But I feel that sometimes good comes from bad. And if that made us stronger as a community, if that meant that something tragic had to happen for the Jewish community and the Muslim community to come together, I think that in and of itself is a beautiful thing.
Definitely. Yeah, because you don't really hear about those two groups getting together too often.
Correct. Yeah, correct.
So that is incredible. Wow.
Yeah, I thought so too. And I think it's a progressive moment also for us to move forward. But it's a very scary situation. And I think the scary part is that this is not an isolated incident. This is the way that people really think.
Exactly.
Death to Jews, but why?
Exactly. I can never understand that. So has that relationship between the Jewish community and the Muslim community, has that continued, or, as time gone by, has it kind of dissipated?
I think the security presence, has probably died down with the pandemic and all of that. But I would guarantee you that there are stronger relationships within both communities for it.
That's great. That is awesome to hear.
Yeah.
Right after the event took place, once you responded to me finally, and I was calm then because I was freaking out just a little bit, because I know you respond pretty quickly. So you had posted a whole bunch of stuff, but this one quote of yours just really stuck out to me. And it said, and I can't do this in your voice. I wish I could. Because as I was reading it, I could hear your voice. You said, why do we have to check on each other when crazy white assholes decide to shoot up our places of worship.
Yeah.
I mean, just that question within itself, it's like, what year is it? Why why are we having to check on each other as friends to make sure that we're okay, that we're still alive because somebody just didn't like us for either, our religious reason, our skin color, combination, you know, looking back then compared to now, do you still feel that same way, or have your feelings deepened more now that you're a mother?
Yes, immensely. I think that, for me, my dad went to military school, and he was not allowed to use the restroom, or they would put quarters in socks and beat him and call him a kike. Yeah, so I've always grown up with hearing those stories. And my mother's Israeli, so you can imagine the stories that come from there. And then also, as part of going to Sunday school and Hebrew school, the Holocaust is a really big part. So growing up myself, always wondering, but why? I just don't get it. Like, what did I do to you? What did my dad do to you? What is my daughter going to do to you? What did my son do to you? So for me, it's definitely deepened. It's always been a deep emotion inside of me. And when we were, I don't even know, I was like 13 or 14 years old, and the KKK was coming to speak in the city, like in Pittsburgh, downtown, at the county building. Yeah. It was like 1995, 6-ish, maybe.
Wow.
I had just had my bat mitzvah, which was a defining day in Judaism for me.
Right.
So I felt, even more connected at that point. So my dad wanted to take me to the protest, and I put up a fight, and I didn't want to. I wanted to go and see these people, because it almost seemed like a fallacy. Like, these people don't really dress up in hoods and do that, No, they don't, but they do. And they did,
Wow.
and they were protected. I'll never forget it. There was like a fence blocking the protesters who were there. And then behind them were police. And then up the steps were the KKK. And it was just, looking at, because Pittsburgh, for the most part, is diverse, and seeing people of color behind those police helmets was, unreal, just unreal. Like, I applaud you for having that much self-discipline. Right. But at the same time, if I cross over that fence to get to that guy, they're going to stop me. They're protecting the KKK. Right. And it was something that was like, our government is giving them their right, their freedom of speech, and protecting them for it. So it was a lesson in politics and in religion and in humanity. So there's a lot of different lessons that come with that. But it was a defining day for me that I would never forget. And if I had to do that again now with my kids, I would do it for them too, and hope that they see the same correlations that I did. So it's unfortunate, but like I said, sometimes good things come out from bad things.
You're right. You're very, very, God, I mean, I can't even, just hearing that, I'm like, wow. Because
I applaud my dad for even doing it too, because that's got to be hard as a parent, to take your child somewhere where those people don't like that girl,
Exactly. Yeah. And of course, I can completely relate to that. Of course, being a Black woman in the South, I totally get it. It is that fine line. It's like, I really want to teach the next generation, and I want them to see how this really is. But then at the same time, you're like, I really want to protect my kids from this, but I can't protect them all the time.
Yeah. It's and a sad part of of parenting is you have the option. You have the option as a parent to sit down and explain to your kids what Black Lives Matter means, what stronger than hate means. And you also have the option to not teach them anything at all. But I don't think that that's the fair way, because you're raising adults. They're going to be adults one day. And how they treat other people could very much be based on how you explain the different scenarios that are happening within our country.
Right. And I mean, that's a perfect segue into my next question. How would you like people to view Jewish families by the time your children are young adults?
I mean, I think that we want to be, respected, normal, like everybody else. I think that a lot of our holidays go kind of unrecognized by a lot of school districts, or, bank holidays obviously don't revolve around Jewish holidays. So, I mean, I think that I would like to see just more respect, less hate, more love, more peace come from that.
Okay. All right. So, kind of to break up this seriousness so much, we're going to talk about your lineage and your heritage. So how many generations of your family have practiced Judaism?
As far as I know, since the beginning of time.
Nice.
Both of my parents are 100% Jewish. So this is the culture. We grew up in a kosher house. We were in a conservative family. Like my mother growing up in Israel, they, the holidays do matter there. The culture is very much, alive there. And she grew up in surrounded by Judaism. That's their way of life. So to come here and bring those traditions to us, it was also a teaching to my father, because my father is American, but his lineage is Russian, I don't know, Slovakian, maybe some array of white Judaism, European Judaism. But my mom is the Middle Eastern Judaism, right? So it's a different tradition. Even the way that they make matzah balls is different.
Okay.
Yeah, the way they serve gefilte fish is different. But it's just it's an amazing and humbling culture to be a part of, and I have always been brought up in the synagogues. We still go for high holidays, and we're gonna pass it on to our future generations.
Of course,
as long as we can.
Supposed to do.
Yeah.
That is great. I mean, I have to say, I've had experiences with Jewish families my whole life. I mean, actions with Jewish families forever. So it's like some of the things I already knew about. Like, I have to say, when we were in college program, one of our mutual friends, we call him D-Berg. Hey, D-Berg, if you watch this. Andrew. Hey. So we got together for Passover because his mom sent him that whole box of stuff, and it was awesome. I made this joke, and Andrew was always laughing at me because I was like, yo, I'm going to convert like tomorrow. This food right here is on it.
Yes.
Because that was one part of the culture and tradition that I had never experienced or had never, tasted. And then when I tasted it, I was like, I see where this is at right now.
Right. Yes. Well, let me tell you, my mother puts people to shame. I mean, there is nothing like my mother's cooking, and she gets the best of both worlds in there. You have the European cooking, and then the traditional Israeli, Middle Eastern cooking. I mean, my mouth is watering just thinking about her cooking.
I know. So I feel like I need to buy a plane ticket today so I can
come on.
So whenever this whole COVID thing passes, I can be right there. We can celebrate whatever.
Absolutely.
So how would you define being Jewish? I know that you said, since your mom's Israeli and then, your dad's heritage, how would you define it for you?
I think that over the years, it has become less biblical and more traditional, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
We grew up in a conservative home, and I would say that I'm probably more reform now. We do the high holidays, but I'm not keeping to like the Sabbath on the weekends, and I don't have a kosher home, things like that.
Okay.
So, but I would define it as absolute tradition in the sense of our family get-togethers, being at my mom's, having gift exchanges for Hanukkah and et cetera. Like, it's just a cultural experience. And then also, as an added bonus, I have a relationship with God that I don't feel the pressure of maybe that some other religions would put on people, or I'm not at a level where it's my entire life from the time I wake up till I go to sleep. Gotcha. But it is a part of me. It is who I was born to be.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. So would you say that would be the difference between being Jewish and practicing Judaism, or does it just all come together?
I think that we're all Jewish, but we all have different levels to which we practice. Am I in synagogue every weekend? No. Should I be? Probably. But there are people who are in synagogue every day.
Right.
So it's a way of life for some people from the time they wake up in the morning until they go to sleep. But that's just, it has different meanings, I guess, to everybody.
Right.
Yeah.
So, of course, as being a minority group in the United States, we always have stereotypes. So whether we view the stereotypes as a negative or positive, of course, depends on our experience with that particular stereotype. What are some of the stereotypes that you've heard, and how do you combat those negative stereotypes?
Some of the stereotypes, and some of them just they just don't make sense to me either. Some make sense, some don't. We run Hollywood, right?
Yeah.
I missed that opportunity.
You did.
Hi, Hollywood. Yeah.
Becca says she's here. She's ready.
I am ready. We have big noses. We are cheap. We all have money. We're all smart, which I guess is not necessarily a bad thing. Right. But I've been, why aren't you doing great in this class? You're Jewish. Well, yeah, but I'm still me, so being called a Jap time after time after time, which is Jewish American princess.
Really? I've never heard of that. So it's Jewish American princess. Wow.
We're spoiled, you know what I mean? Yeah. Like that, I've been called that in a degrading way. Right. And it's kind of funny in a way, because it's almost like you're complimenting me with an insult. It's just, you're insulting me with a compliment, it's
all twisted. It's just,
there's just that, we were thieves, and, I've heard so many different things: liars, thieves, cheats, good with money, bad with money. But, some positive things that, we can cook, and my mother is could attest to that. And, it's confusing, at one point, like, I think it was after Charlottesville, when the Tiki Torch Nazis were saying Jews will not replace us. Right. And I'm like, what are we replacing? I missed this meeting. What are we doing?
They seem to have a lot of meetings that as well. So
right? Like, why didn't anybody let me in on this? So I just have more questions than answers, really. Like, I don't know why they think that. I think that there are plenty of people throughout the world that may have larger noses than the person next to them. You know, and I just think it's like the Jewish jokes that people think are okay to say are not. And for the most part, people think that I am of Latin descent instead of being, nobody looks at me and says, well, you're Jewish, you know? So I always get the, like, even at Disney, right? So when we worked at Disney, constantly people would come up to me and speak Spanish to me.
I'm sure.
I want to answer you. I can't, you know, and I know that I look like I should, and I feel like I'm letting you down now.
But I can't do it.
But I just don't know, you know? So I feel like that's kind of like, I don't want to say a double-edged sword, but I feel like I've received stereotypes for people thinking that I am a Mexican, you know, or that I'm Jewish. Like I've received it from both. And there's been several times where I have conversations with people, you know, even in my line of work with real estate, I've dealt with contractors that have said right to my face, you know, we're going to Jew them down. And it's like,
whoa,
what do you mean by that?
Right.
You know? Like my last job I had, somebody said it right in a conversation. We were outside in the parking lot having a conversation. He said, yeah, this client's trying to Jew me down. And I was like, do you know that I'm Jewish? And do you know what you're saying?
Exactly.
You know, like the contractor that I was referring to earlier said, like his response to me later on through text messaging was, my friend who's Italian thinks that you're overreacting. And it's like, that's even more degrading than the first comment you said. Oh, so, okay. That, like, just to make himself feel better, you know, is like, I don't think he knew even what he was saying. I think that unfortunately people are brought up in homes where there are racial slurs used as everyday words, and these kids grow up and don't know that they're saying something offensive. Not to excuse it, but it's almost like they're a victim of the racial circumstance. Like their parents were racist and they had no idea because they weren't intelligent enough to put two and two together and think that that is offensive.
Right.
You know, so, and it's happened to me so many times throughout my life where they've just dropped these comments or, oh, you're Jewish. Oh, well, let me tell you a joke. You know,
oh no,
yeah, like it's the Holocaust ones are the worst. Like, I don't even want to hear it, you know, and people just think that they're funny and they're not.
Right. Exactly. There's nothing funny about it.
No.
Oh my goodness. Well, I don't know. This next set of questions, you're gonna have to take these with a grain of salt because these came from Southerners. Okay. So either they were questions that I saw somebody posted on social media or something that I heard somebody say. So, all right, I'll let them speak for themselves. All right, the first one. What are the difference between Orthodox and non-Orthodox Jews?
Oh, a lot. So we have basically, you know, 3 levels within Judaism: Reform, which would be the least practicing; Conservative, which is kind of in the middle; and then Orthodox or Hasidic Jews. There are some that are even more Orthodox than what you would see in, you know, in Brooklyn, New York, or in Israel. You know, there are some people who are very deep within the religion beyond that. But for the most part, I would say a lot of the people who are Orthodox, you know, they wake up and they pray before they eat. They have blessings over their food. They only eat kosher food. They're very much involved within the Orthodox community. They go, like, their synagogues, at the end of this month, my niece and nephew are having a joint bar and bat mitzvah, and it's actually a b'nai mitzvah, which we'll be celebrating, later this month. And that is going to be in a Reform synagogue. But if this was in an Orthodox synagogue, the men would be on one side and the women would be on another. The tragedy that just happened in Israel with the stampede where over 40 people lost their lives, that was an Orthodox ceremony, and there were no women there. It was only men that were praying. So that's just a little bit different than if you were to come here at the end of the month. My husband will be sitting right beside me.
Gotcha.
And my kids will too. Like there is no separation within the walls there. It's a lot more relaxed in the Reform and in the conservative level as opposed to Orthodox.
Okay. All right. Now I know I kind of built these up to be real horrible, but I'm just giving you warning. They're gonna get a little crazier as we go along.
Okay.
So, all right, the second question is Judaism based on the belief of the Old Testament of the Bible?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The Old Testament, as you know, in comparison to the New Testament, one thing, an eye for an eye in the Old Testament, the New Testament says turn your cheek.
Right.
So we focus more on the Old Testament.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So the third question is, how many holidays does Judaism have, or how many holidays do Jewish people celebrate?
I couldn't even begin to count. It seems like every other day. There's a different calendar also. So, Christmas is December 25th every single year, but Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur are usually sometime in September or October, but there's not a specific date because it's based off of the Jewish calendar. So it's a completely different year in the Jewish calendar. Everything, it's not 356 days. It's a little bit different, but it's based off of that. But there are quite a few. Okay.
Now, I know I have a list of them, and I sent them to you because I did my research.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I know how to say Rosh Hashanah. I know how to say this. And then some of them are like, I can't even begin to start to pronounce this. So my question, on top of the Southern question, is what are the meanings of the celebrations? And let's start with Passover.
Okay. Passover is when the Jews wandered the desert for 40 years, and we did not have yeast to make bread rise. So we had unleavened bread, which is matzah. And that's why we have the Seder to celebrate Passover and eat matzah. And for the whole week, we can't have anything with the yeast, like no bread, no pastas, and even in like the more Orthodox communities, they clean their cupboards and burn the breadcrumbs, things like that.
Oh, wow. Okay. So then we have Shabbat.
Shavuot is...
Okay, see, I told you I was going like...
That's okay. I may have even messed that up. So Shavuot, Tish B'Av, Shmini Atzeres, and Simchat Torah, I'm not 1,000% sure, and I don't want to butcher those. I will say that to sum up Jewish holidays, a lot of them are celebratory, but a lot like Yom Kippur, we fast for sundown to sundown to repent for our sins. And I remember people saying, like, what kind of holiday is that where you don't get to eat, or you don't get bread for a week? Like, why do you celebrate like that? And it's to remind ourselves of our history so that we don't forget. So not every holiday is a huge celebration. Like Hanukkah, the miracle, we were at war and we only had enough oil to last for so long, and it lasted 8 days. Mm-hmm. So some of them are very joyous, and some of them are not. Mm-hmm. In comparison to some like Christianity is always a celebration with the holidays.
Yeah, that's true. We like to celebrate stuff.
Right.
It's very seldom that we really kind of reflect, unless we're talking about Lent leading up to Easter.
True.
So that would probably be the only thing that wouldn't necessarily be a celebration, but and I'm learning more about that since I have now gone to become Lutheran. So It's interesting. I'm moving up. I think by the end, I should be Jewish. I'm going to shoot.
Welcome, welcome to the tribe. We
No,
will welcome you with open arms.
I will definitely keep that in mind.
Yeah.
So now this is the one that I'm embarrassed about, but hey, I saw it and I know you and I know you're going to give me a classic Becca answer. So this one says, do Jews receive Christmas cards? And if they do they get pissed like we do when someone tells us Christians happy holiday?
I think it depends on who it's from.
Okay.
I think that I have boxes of Christmas cards, you know what I mean, that I would give to family and friends. So I don't expect people to go to our tiny little end cap at Target and get a Hanukkah card just for us. You know what I mean? So in one sense, it's, everybody else is a victim of circumstance too, because I can guarantee you likely your local Target probably does not have as big of a section during Hanukkah time as ours does next to Squirrel Hill, where the shooting happened, which is the largest Jewish community here. So I think that it kind of, in some parts of the country, we're able to be, pushed aside. So you don't see a bunch of Hanukkah stuff to pick from. So I don't fault anyone. But, there have been instances where I was at a family event and somebody who was not an immediate member of my Jewish family said, I don't care who you are. I'm going to say Merry Christmas. And I was the only Jewish person sitting at that table and thought to myself, like, you were at my Jewish wedding. Like,
Wow.
So, and my husband looked at me and I was like, ready to go off, but have to respect the situation. So when we were leaving, I looked at her with a big smile and I said, Happy Hanukkah. And I watched her swallow her words immediately. Yeah. We go to store. I will never be upset by a happy holiday because I prefer it. Like if somebody says Merry Christmas, I respond immediately with a happy holiday right back. And even just this past holiday season, my husband said wow, you're really quick to say that. And I'm like, Ryan, it's my entire life. I'm happy to see the amount of Hanukkah decorations that are available now as opposed to none before. So I like the progression of it, but I just feel like everybody would understand it's not a war on Christmas. It's just a war to be acknowledged.
Wow. And you just said a mouthful and you have no idea that you said it because especially here in the South, I noticed, around Christmas time, people will have all out rants just on social media. If you call and you start a conversation and you accidentally say happy holidays, they're like, I am a Christian, and you will say Merry Christmas and you will do this. And I'm like, whoa, I'm out.
And I agree. If I know for a fact that is your holiday, then you're getting a Merry Christmas for me. But if I'm at a store and you're saying Merry Christmas, I prefer Happy Holidays. If you don't know me, just give me a general, give me a non-offensive. But to the friends and family that do celebrate, they absolutely get a Merry Christmas. They should.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yeah.
All right. So now the next question. First of all, I'm going to drop a little knowledge for people, and then I will ask the question. So April 8th is Holocaust Remembrance Day. And I heard this statement. And even just looking at this now, I'm sure you can tell, Becca, I'm like, oh my God.
I'm waiting to hear what's next.
It says, I don't believe that the Holocaust really happened. What do you say to the people that do not believe that the Holocaust actually took place?
Where did all 6 million of those people go?
Mm, right.
How can you deny evidence,
Mm.
witnesses? This wasn't something that happened 1,000 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't somebody putting a fake flag on the moon in a studio in California. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
right.
this is legitimate fact, history. I just feel like anybody that really, I'm not surprised. But I just, I've kind of dug into it just out of curiosity in the past. I don't see anything that makes it absolutely believable. I believe the people who tell me, or, as we've gotten older, unfortunately, a lot of the survivors have passed away, and there are fewer of them as we grow older. But I've been to the Holocaust Museum in Israel. I've been to the Holocaust Museum in Washington, D.C. I had plenty of teachers and survivors that we grew up with in our community. The Jewish Community Center here has the Holocaust Center. We've seen so many people talk. I mean, you've watched Schindler's List. There's books. There's too much factual evidence to turn an eye to it and just say it didn't happen. Just because they say it didn't happen doesn't mean it didn't happen. I want them to be right, but they're not.
Right.
I don't understand how these people just disappeared.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that is so true.
Yeah.
Now to kind of lighten up the mood and get to some lighter questions in the
Okay.
interview, let's talk about one other thing that we have in common. And I mean, we as in everybody in society,
Mm-hmm.
somehow we have a connection to music.
Mm-hmm.
A large majority of us do. So what is your favorite song that represents you?
I think it depends on my mood because I have a very wide range of music that I like. But if I had to sum it up, it's anything by the Dave Matthews Band.
I knew it. I knew you were going to say that. Okay, so just to let everybody on the inside, Becca and I have that in common. We love Dave Matthews Band.
Yes, we do.
So, which Dave song would represent you best today, right now, as you're talking to me?
I think to go in with the theme of today's conversation, I would say maybe like Gray Street.
Right.
I would think right now. I just got a new car, so Joyride maybe.
Okay.
With the state that the country was in before Mercy, I think that anybody's life could be narrated by the plethora of Dave Matthews songs,
I agree. I agree.
because it's just pure brilliance. I think it depends. Like every day I have it. Like I listen to another song and I'm just like, oh, I love that song.
That's it.
But not to be confused with everybody else that I love in the music world. I'm not solely a DMB fan, but they do take up probably 25% of my music collection on my phone.
Okay. I totally agree with Becca on that one. Mine is Two Step, but that's just because I love Two Step.
I love Two Step too. We had the lyrics to Two Step on our wedding cake.
Oh, really? See?
Yeah.
Things you didn't know. See, there we go. See, I was at your wedding and didn't even realize it.
I don't know that anybody did, to be honest.
Well, okay. So now, since we're still talking about music, what song do you believe best represents the Jewish community?
That's a good one. Mm-hmm. I don't really have to think about that. Again, I think it depends what aspect. I'm trying to think of a Jewish song that would correlate with it. There's a song that I heard when I was in Israel. I think it was called Salam.
Okay.
And when I did my birthright trip, the last time that I was there, it was, I can't remember what the lyrics were, but it's very kumbaya like, very harmonious. And I truly loved that. There's certain blessings that I think, really represent the Jewish community. I don't know. If I had a little bit more time to think about that, I could nail it, because I could sit here and listen to music for hours and be like,
So
yeah,
like,
that's
this is
the
it.
one.
That's perfect.
That's it. Yeah.
Right.
But there's a whole array of songs that I think are for the people of Israel, the Israelis that are here, the Jewish community here. So the soldiers, I could give them their own song.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you think about that, and
I
then
will.
you message me and let me know, because I want to start a list of songs from all of my conversations. So, it can just represent a time period, that people can be like, okay, so this individual thought that this song related to this group of people for whatever reason. And I just want to connect people with music, because again, that's one of those common threads that we all have in our lives. And, whether you like this group or don't like this group or never heard this before, expose somebody to something a little different. So, so just send that to me and I'll add it to my list whenever you think of it. So I'm sure you'll hop on that assignment real quick.
Actually, as I'm sitting here thinking about it, there is one specific song. Actually, I'm going to take it back. I do know. I just have to find the
Okay.
name of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's from I don't know if you've heard of this Jewish rapper Matisyahu.
No, but I like
Oh,
the name already.
he's dope.
All right.
Like dope. Like blew me away. I think One Day by Matisyahu would probably be my choice.
Okay.
But I think on a personal note, you should listen to that, and also King Without a Crown. I think that is just an amazing song.
Okay. Hey,
Yeah.
I love it. I'm going to add that to my list and I'm going to play it. And definitely still message me so I can make sure I don't forget it.
Okay.
So, Becca, thank you for your time and for telling us your story.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it is a pleasure as always. I love you, and it was great.
I love you.
All right, to all of you, thank you for watching. Take care, and may there be peace, love, and understanding, as well as social justice for all. Thank you.